Thanks so much for having me. My name is Sarah McIntosh. I'm the Careers and Education Journalist with the Farmers Journal. I'm delighted to be here at the Ploughing, and thanks so much to SETU for inviting me here to chair this panel. I think from my own perspective, there's never been a better time to be coming out with an ag degree, a land sciences degree as well, because the opportunities that are out there now are so broad. Every single industry members that are here are looking for staff. Employment is really good and it's really competitive as well. So from graduate programs all the way across the industry into masters, PhDs, everyone is looking for workers, and it's a very broad degree as well. So without further ado, I think we'll get going, guys, and thank you all so much for being here. Do you want to maybe start, Emma? Emma Swan is working with Alltech. Emma, talk us through your own background, where your interest in agriculture came from, and why you decided to do the course you did in South East Technological University.
Thanks, Sarah. I suppose I've always had an interest in farming. I come from a sheep farm at home in County Meath, so I've always kind of wanted to go into that area of agriculture. I done ag science in secondary school, and I wanted to just pursue that a bit further. So at the start, I didn't actually choose Southeast Technology University. I chose UCD, but unfortunately I was 10 points short. Me and my best friend thought we were going to be going to college together in UCD, but I ended up going down to Waterford, and to be honest, that was probably for the best. I was the first year in SETU where it actually became the level 8, and I got to stay down in Waterford, and I made loads of friends down in Waterford, whereas if I went to UCD, I would have been commuting back and forth to Dublin. So in the end, I was glad I ended up going down to Waterford. And the course itself is a lot more practical than the ag science course in UCD. We were out in Kildalton 2 days a week from second year, and I found that really fun as well. You know, actually being out on a farm as part of college it's a great way to learn practically as well.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely one of the huge benefits of the courses down in SETU is the practical aspect. Like, I'm not from a farm, and I think especially if you're coming into an ag science degree and you're not from a farm, that practical experience is so invaluable. I think I was probably on a farm twice during my degree, and listen, I had a great time down in UCD as well. But I think if you're not, you really need to look at the course and have a look at what you're going to be learning. And I think it's great that even though it wasn't the option you thought it was going to be, it was your second choice or whatever, it turned out for the best, and it just shows that sometimes things do work out. And I'd say, as I said, like, you had a more practical degree then in the end as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if I had to give students advice coming from secondary school and looking at courses, it doesn't have to be the ag science course in UCD. There's lots of other options out there for students, and as you said, it's important to look at the actual course content as well. Yeah,
and there's so many broad ways of getting into agriculture at the moment, and apprenticeships and everything like that. It's probably, the opportunities are massive there to get in as well, so that's great. And Amy, what about yourself? Like, was it a similar situation when it came to CEO, or talk us through your own background first of all, and where your interest in agriculture came from?
Yeah, well, I would come from a dairy farm in Kilkenny, and I always had such an interest in it. And coming up through secondary school, all my friends knew what they wanted to do. They wanted to be teachers, they wanted to be nurses, and to be honest, I just didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. But coming to sixth year, I decided ag science was the route for me. All of my friends were going to Dublin, similarly to Emma, and I said, being the sheep I was, all of my friends are going there, I'll go there as well, so that's what I put down. Out came the results, and I didn't get it, and I thought the world was going to fall down in front of me, and on I went down to WIT, which it was at the time, and I didn't know anyone, and I went down and I got stuck in, and I struggled with a few things at the beginning, like physics, chemistry. They're tough, like it is hard, but they offered me things like there was classes, support classes afterwards, and I came up and I ended up doing quite well because I got the extra support that was available. The class sizes were much smaller, so the lecturers knew us on a kind of a personal level too. We weren't just a number and things like that. And as Emma was saying, with Kildalton, it's very practical. So we were over there, we were doing all sorts of everything. We were weighing cattle, we were dehorning calves, we were vaccinating, dosing, we were out calibrating sprayers. we were eyeballing grass, we were doing so much. And I kind of forgot about my friends in Dublin then for a little while, and they were looking at me and they were like, what are you doing? Why are you in your wellies and overalls and where are you going? And I was like, oh sure, we're just off to college, we're just off to weigh a few cattle here. And they like that. They didn't have that same experience. So I was in the end very delighted. That's where I
think what you said as well, people were looking at teaching and they were looking at sort of careers where you know exactly what you're going to do, where you're going to end up. And maybe for me anyway, ag science isn't something I thought about until the CEO changed my mind. I was always interested in ag. I always did ag science for the Leaving Cert as well, but it wasn't until kind of that change of mind where I was like, no, like I had a place in Adelaide nursing in Trinity, and I had got that already before I went into the exams if I passed my exams, but something just clicked in my brain. I was like, do what you're passionate in, like none of my Dublin friends know what I do now. They probably have never been to the ploughing, and they don't really understand the industry or whatever, but it just shows that if you're interested in a certain sector, you shouldn't be afraid about what your friends think or what other people think as well. Was it kind of the same for yourself?
Literally the exact same. I think if you have an interest in something, you go for it, because there's jobs out there for absolutely everything, and if you stick with what you're interested in, you'll be passionate about it and you'll get places that way.
Yeah, Brendan, we might come to you. You got the day off college today to come. I'd say you're delighted. Give us a bit of background to yourself and why you're doing brewing as well, because I think it's definitely a course that we don't know enough about, and we don't hear people talk about it enough as well, and it's definitely something that interests me to see what your actual day-to-day is like at college at the moment.
Yeah, no, a shadow of a doubt. Definitely happy to be off college, first of all. Get away from it for a day. So I'm only 20 years of age. I'm a little bit of a stick in the mud in this sort of panel as well. I'm only a third year student.
Because we're all older, is it?
I'm only a third year student, and when it came to sort of like the CAO options, about, I'd say, a month before it closed, I probably gave my career guidance teacher a bit of a panic attack. I changed all my computer science options to science options, and number one was brewing and distilling. And thankfully enough, it stuck, and I got my place in SETU Carlow, and I was absolutely delighted with it. Now all of my friends all gone off to Galway, Dublin, Ulster University, etc. And I was down in Carlow on my own, but just happy to get it. I was grateful to be in the college. It was wonderful.
Yeah, and talk us through your own background and where your interest in brewing and distilling came from, because I don't necessarily, how do you wake up and go, I want to do brewing and distilling,
Yeah, no, it's a strange one. I'd love to give you the idealistic answer to say I'd always had an interest in brewing and distilling. I've always had an interest in science, but it really was coming down to that sort of last month where me and two of my friends, we decided we were going to just do like a little bit sort of research into it, because it's a very, very interesting topic, the brewing and distilling sector, and I decided I was going to do a small bit of research in it. They were interested, but their interests lay a little bit more on the electrician side and bioscience, and I thought to myself, no, this actually, it's a very, very cool idea, and I stuck with it for a little while, and then eventually when I changed my choices, I actually realised that it's a lovely, lovely degree, and it's great to sort of get in contact with the people that are around from a land science idea and then from the brewing and distilling sector.
Yeah, and talk us through some of the modules that you've done over the last 3 years, because people might not realise, but it's very technical as well, and it brings in a lot of food science too, and chemistry and things probably that you were interested in while you were doing computer science too,
Yeah, like it is very, very strange. Now, I will say with the computer science side of it, I was sort of introduced to one of the modules, quantitative methods, which is kind of like a very complex sort of a maths, which the computer science has really helped me along with. But I was in first year in a general entry science degree, so I was introduced to biology, which I had already done before, physics and chemistry, which really weren't my strong suits, but I was delighted to have the lectures that I did, because all of which were, like we said before, like you weren't just a number, you were a student, you were someone who was present, you were actually cared for in that, even if, for example, for myself, chemistry really was not a strong point, you were really cared for like after school, after college, that sort of help and those supports that were available for students.
And I think what's great about the ag science degrees is you do that foundation, everyone has to do the maths, the physics and the chemistry modules, and although they are tough at the time, and as you both all have kind of mentioned, they're not easy, but it gives you a foundation, I think, a good level of knowledge then for when you're coming to the end of your degree, and you can make it applicable then as well. Mark, we might come to you. You're from a dairy farm, but was farming always top of the list, or were you always out from a young age on the farm?
Well, I was always out on the farm from a young age, but I suppose I'd be of a personality where I won't make things easy on myself. So my mum is down there at the moment, but I broke her heart when we were trying to decide where I should go to college. I originally had media and production down in UL, and that was my level 8 that I got offered from the CAO. And at the time, the Ag Science in Waterford was only really getting going. I was the second year where you could go in and do the whole 4 years. But I actually got to WIT at the time through the level 7 degree in agricultural science, and then I was able to do an advanced entry into the level 8 then after first year.
And talk us through the benefits of that, because I don't think people realise there's such a stress on points and the CEO and getting that level 8 degree, but so many people come in through the level 7 as well, and it gives you a great option as well to give it a go, do the level 7, it's a shorter course, and see if you're really passionate about it before you go for that level 8.
Definitely. Now, not even just level 7, a lot of people come into the course through advanced entry. So doing the likes of your Green Cert in Kildalton or Gerteen or any of these ag colleges, then if you do your 2 years there, you get an advanced entry that you can go into second year into the degree. It's hugely important because at that time there's a lot of stress on you trying to figure out, gee, I'm only 18 years old, I need to figure out what I'm doing for the rest of my life. You're not going to make that decision, you're not going to make the best decision then. Like at that time I had media management in UL, like I was never...
Completely different.
I was never going to be down behind the camera listening, doing microphones or anything like that.
Yeah, definitely.
I wouldn't have the temperament for it.
Would you not?
No, I wouldn't. It was actually the day of my debs, my mum and my dad put me in the car and said, come on, you're after getting offered Waterford, we're going to go down and we're going to have a look at the facilities. They happened to have a sort of an open day on that time.
Yeah.
So there was big pressure to get down, and when I had a look at the facilities in Waterford, I said, gee, do you know what, this is actually really interesting. We went upstairs, we saw the labs, we were going to be sort of hands-on on doing those first year modules. You were doing chemistry, you were doing maths, you were doing physics. Now, I'd never done physics in the Leaving Cert, but I'd done chemistry and maths, and I found that a huge advantage to me, doing that doing that sort of general science for first year. Down beside my mum is actually Shane, who we met in first year in college.
A lot of shout outs here now. It's great to see the support.
I'm going to shout out everyone. And so I went down to Waterford. We'd agreed that we were going to go to Waterford. Didn't have any accommodation or anything booked at the time. If we were doing it today, we'd have all the hair pulled out. But landed down, didn't know anyone down there. Got accommodation in this apartment block, and myself and my mum stayed in it the first night. And then the Sunday evening we came back after the induction. The next thing, Shane walked in and he says, oh yeah, try and do an ag science as well. So we became friends very quickly then.
Yeah, and I think, like the girls mentioned it already as well, that, it is difficult when you don't have any friends in college. It's tough. The first day, most intimidating day of your degree, am I going to make any friends at all? But then very quickly you ease into everyone here in the degree is interested in the same things I'm interested in. But for any students maybe who are looking to go to a different college than their friends, we might just go through a bit of advice from each of you. Mark, we'll go to you first. But what was something that really helped that transition for you and kind of pushed you to kind of make friends? I know he walked through the door and all of a sudden the rest is history, yeah. But what advice would you give to students?
Put yourself out there. Everyone is experiencing something new. No one is going from secondary school into college and knowing what to expect. Everyone is there for the first time. So don't be afraid to go up and chat to people. Like, if you're in an agricultural degree or if you're in a computer degree, you're going to be around people who are going to have similar interests to you. So you're going to be on a sort of a very easy way of getting to know each other because you have similar interests. When I was down in Waterford, I spent a lot of time doing different clubs and societies. So it wasn't even first year now. In second year, I joined the kayaking club, and I got hugely involved in that, doing whitewater kayaking and things like that. Something you wouldn't consider that, geez, maybe I'll go down to Waterford because it's accessible to Tramore or there's so many rivers down there.
Yeah, you just don't think about those things.
You don't think about it when you're trying to figure out, geez, what do I need to put down on my CAO application? But definitely throw yourself out there, be involved, and don't be afraid to, say hello to people, yeah. Yeah.
Emma, what about yourself? Is there anything that really helped you push yourself outside your comfort zone?
I suppose similar, just put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to go up and chat to, look, everyone's in the same situation. Another aspect, I suppose, that I got quite involved in was going out on a good night out.
The Ags are kind of known for that as well. We
Yeah,
have a bit of a reputation.
that's important too, to meet people on a social level outside of college. Spend some time. I know the Dome was there, and when I was in college, we spent our lunches and after lunches in the Dome, where you get to meet lots of people as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think on that note, it is quite challenging for a lot of students at the moment, as you mentioned. You know, with your accommodation, if you left it that late, you might not get accommodation now. There's a lot of students commuting now as well, and it is more difficult to go out and to plan your nights out too. So it's kind of about being smart, I think, from that aspect of getting in early and maybe meet them for a coffee early, or, you know, use your lunch times, and then you'll have a place to stay then when it comes to going out. Amy, what about yourself? Like, what was it like for you, and what advice would you give to anyone who maybe doesn't know anyone else in their degree starting off?
Yeah, look, similarly to Mark and Emma, like, I think you just honestly need to get stuck in. I also think you need to be able to ask. Like, I was struggling with chemistry and physics, and like that, there was classes afterwards available for me to go and do. And I think in the like of a bigger college, I probably would have just faded off maybe into the background and just coasted. But yeah, definitely getting involved in. I got involved in a bit of debating there for a little while, and anything you can get involved in, I think, is very important. And then afterwards, like, say the ag community at the moment, like, it's very close knit, and I think anything you get presented you need to jump at, because you don't realise where it'll take you in the future.
Yeah. And I think those learning supports are very important as well. I definitely utilise the Access Centre, I utilise my Maths Sports Centre, and, you know, people might not want to admit that they're struggling. They might not want to go to their lecture after class and say, listen, I'm finding this really difficult, do you have any time to go through anything? But we forget that our lecturers, they want us to pass. Like, you know, it's only kind of maybe when you come out of college that you realise, you know, they're people as well, and they're nothing to be intimidated by. But, like, it is difficult to ask for help, but those support centres are there, and you have to kind of utilise them as well. Brendan, as someone who is in the middle of college, do you utilise the support that's kind of available, or how have you found that?
Yeah, no, definitely. Again, another not really strong suit for me was like chemistry and like maths, especially with the Teaching and Learning Sports Centre that was actually in the college. I could walk into the college at 8 o'clock at night, and I would meet one of the lecturers who would be able to help me with my maths and my chemistry and my physics or anything like that. It was absolutely wonderful. And it's great to be able to say that, to be able to walk up to a lecturer and say, I actually do need a small bit of help with this. That is sort of, again, kind of like what everybody else said, saying,
Yeah.
like, getting out and actually saying something.
Yeah, and Mark, you probably see it from a different perspective now, because you're actually lecturing one day a week as well, part-time. Like, what kind of ways do you kind of encourage students to ask for help, or to reach out when they need it as well?
It's very weird looking at it from the educator's point of view, because when we were in college, you'd keep your hand down, you know, you wouldn't say anything. And when you stand up in front of a group of students who are, you know, 18, 19 years old, and you're like, do you understand that? And you just get blank faces back at you. It's very hard.
You're hoping they do.
I assume you do. But it's very hard to pull the information out of them saying that they don't know. But after a lecture or something like that, where they approach you or they send you an email, would you mind covering that? Like, it's hugely important that you get those, because you can start the next day, well, if you didn't understand that, there's probably one or two others that don't understand that either. So it is important to communicate. If you don't understand something, we're here to try and get you to pass. It's a very bad look on me if I have 5 or 6 students fail, and it's extra work for me as well.
Yeah.
So we're really trying to do everything to get them to pass the first time around.
And Emma, talk us through after college then. You're working with Alltech now. What does your role involve, and kind of how did you decide after coming out of college? I think coming out of college is just as difficult to probably try and navigate. What company am I going to go to work for? Am I going to go abroad? Am I going to do a master's, a PhD? There's just so many opportunities, which is a great thing, but it does make it difficult as well. When did you start working in Alltech, and kind of what does your role involve?
Yeah, so just straight after college, me and my friend were talking about going to New Zealand. So it was either go to New Zealand or do the Walsh Fellowship Masters with Teagasc and UCD. So I done the Walsh Fellowship Masters, and I was working in Teagasc Advisory Centre in Teagasc in Mayo. doing the masters and kind of working with farmers, it gave me a good grounding for starting working in the industry. So I had an interest in animals and nutrition, but I also had an interest in working with people. So in Alltech, when I started, I was doing nutrition. I was in the InTouch hub where we're supporting our farmer customers over the phone. We're supporting farmers from Ireland and the UK. And we're working kind of as a group in the office. So I was interested in working in Alltech from that perspective. We were working on nutrition and then also working with farmers. That's where I started in Alltech.
Yeah, I think it's great that, like, you decided to stay in Ireland. Obviously, New Zealand is on the back burner for the moment, but Alltech is such a global company as well. Have you done much travelling within your role, or what are kind of the opportunities that are there?
Yeah, so Alltech does provide a lot of opportunities for travel, whether it's to kind of get a job within Alltech abroad, or then we also do some travelling within our own jobs. So every year we get to travel to 1 or 2 different countries as part of training, and then we actually have a one conference in Kentucky, which is on next year for the first time in 2 or 3 years. I'm hoping to get to Kentucky. So yeah, there is lots of opportunities for travel within Alltech. Yeah. And look at if you are interested in traveling, it's definitely a good company to. And I think
ag is such a transferable degree, and that's why I did it, was because people are always going to need to eat food, and it's a global thing. So whatever opportunities there are in Ireland, every single country out there, there's opportunities as well, and I knew kind of going in. Emma, thanks for that. Amy, do you want to kind of talk us through Tirlán, how it came about and what your role involves at the moment?
Yeah, so when I came out of college, it was the year of COVID, so there wasn't that many jobs going. It was very, very hard. So we kind of went at everything. And I think something that's really important to note, especially when you do come out of college, is where you start's never really going to be where you end up. So I think whatever you're offered, you go for it and you grab it with both hands. But I started working with Tirlán in 23, and basically my title is Ruminant Business Manager, which is essentially a sales rep. So I would have a list of customers and I provide them with inputs, advice, technical advice, account management, and I think ultimately maintaining a great relationship with them is the main thing there. But like, I would have got all the technical knowledge in my 4 years of ag science down in college, and I suppose it's just putting it to use in my day-to-day job now. So yeah, that's
brilliant. Brendan, third year, what are the hopes? Is there any particular area that you want to specialise in or go into after you finish your degree, and do you have placement this year?
Yeah, so for third year, for second semester, I will have placement, which will be good and exciting. I'm hoping to get in I'm actually working as a tour guide at the moment in Tullamore Dew, within the production site at Tullamore Dew. Now, with actual jobs, sort of getting out of college, a huge amount of it will be sort of based around the side of production, with the actual production of a beer or a whiskey or a gin or a vodka or anything like that. But with a brewing and distilling degree, you're not just going to make alcohol, you're not just going to fuel someone's night out.
Which people might not understand. Like, when you hear brewing and distilling, that's what people automatically think.
Yeah, it's really, really wedged in people's minds. But the thing is that with it being a brewing and distilling degree, you are learning about agricultural science, because if you want to make a beer or alcohol or anything like that, you do need a biomedical side for the yeast. You do need the farmer side of it to provide hops, grain, and then for another side of it to provide clean water. So it really, really does branch out quite a lot more than some people actually realise as a brewing distilling degree.
Yeah, and it's very much in touch with land sciences as well.
Yeah, a huge amount, because like industries now today really, really do have to keep in mind of that sort of sustainability side, and are constantly innovating to try and make sure that they try and have net zero carbon or anything like that, like a Hasker distillery really pushing to keep that low carbon impact on their environment. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Mark, talk us through the decision to go farming full time. How are you finding it? And you have quite a sizable herd.
Yeah, well, it was always the plan to go back farming at some stage. I suppose when I finished my degree in Waterford, I went working for Liffey Mills, the company who I did my work placement with, so I had a fairly good relationship with them the whole way along. When you're dairy farming, you're always going to need feed and fertilizer, so it's good to build relationships with a company like that are going to be supplying you with the inputs. The decision to come back home, well, it was, it was, as I said, it was always on the agenda. My dad got sick at the time, and we have, 300 head of cows to keep on top of. So when I came home, it was just a matter of getting your shoulder to the grind and just getting through the work. I'm delighted I've done it.
Yeah.
I'm delighted I got that experience away, first of all. You're picking up these transferable skills that you can bring home for when you're actually, milking cows and the likes of that.
Yeah.
Before, I would have been battling with farmers over the price of feed or fertilizer or something like that. Now I'm battling with cows to try and get them into the milking parlour or things like that. But what you do after college, as I said, it gives you great grounding for when you're going.
And I think, unfortunately, farming gets such a bad reputation a lot of the time. Dairy as well, nitrates irrigation. It's quite challenging time for the sector at the moment, and especially if you're someone young going into it, it's difficult to see the opportunities that are there in farming, and what can be done for young people to kind of realise that there is a future in dairy, there's a future in ag science.
Yeah, well, look, if I didn't see a future in it, I wouldn't be doing it, with every challenge, there's opportunities to be had too. It's about embracing them. It's about asking the right questions and about trying to implement, what little changes you can as best you can. It's hugely important to have courses like in SETU that is giving you the grounding on what you can do to actually impact on the land and everything you're farming later on.
And what supports would you like to see? Generation renewal, big topic of conversation at the ploughing here during the weekend. They launched the report there on Tuesday. What would help you, say, at home on your farm at the moment?
Yeah, definitely. Giving an outline around succession and the likes of that too. Again, as I said earlier on, we have a way of making things hard on ourselves where we are at home. We've so many cooks in the kitchen. But yeah, given some sort of support on how, younger people can get into it. And also, we're probably the architect of our own downfall at times too. We're very quickly to put down farming ourselves and say that, we need to be making big changes. But to be honest with you, we are making changes. And the changes we are doing are impacting on how the food is produced. Yeah,
definitely. We've seen water quality improve this year and everything like that. It is down to farmers. Farmers are so adaptable as well, and they are doing a lot of work on the ground for the sustainability measures too.
We don't need to be so hard on ourselves, basically. We are doing good work too.
Okay, we might just ask, I'm just going to ask you all to give one piece of advice for any incoming students starting in SETU or looking at SETU. What's one piece of advice you'd give? Emma, we'll start with you.
Oh God, one piece of advice. I suppose, put yourself out there. It's not just about the course itself. Get to know as many people as you can, and use the supports that are available in the college as well.
Amy, what about yourself?
I'm going to be a sheep again and say, get stuck in. Also, when you're picking your course, don't do what I did. Don't follow the crowd. Go for the course that draws you to it most. And also, where you start's not where you're going to end up. So, take the opportunities.
Brendan, what about yourself?
Fall a bit like a sheep as well. Take your own initiative, but definitely, it's important to get out. With SET, you have the peer mentor program in order to sort of be more out and with more people and interact with people as well. Because with this, I cannot go a single day in college without passing by anybody that wants to stop by and talk to me or ask me questions, whether they need help with anything at all. So it is really, really important. Again, probably a bit like a sheep, but it's important to make your own decisions, not to follow the crowd, and to get out and enjoy and be with people.
Yeah, Mark, what about yourself? Similar enough, I suppose.
I suppose in general, I would say try to be a sponge. Try absorb as much information as you want. What you get out of the degree is what you're going to put into it. So it's very easy to say, why am I doing chemistry, maths and physics in first year? But when you go further along your career, you might be asked some random question about maths. So, Gina, have notes on that somewhere kept behind. So I would say be a sponge. In terms of Waterford, Carlow specifically, I would say utilise the areas around you. You have Tramore, you have a fantastic nightlife in Waterford. College isn't just about going into the library every day. Use the facilities that are there. Find out where the Casbar is.
Yeah.
Find out where all these spots are, because that's just as important as what you actually do day to day inside the college
Yeah, I think the
walls.
sporting facility is probably something we didn't mention as well, and the college facilities. It's a brand new college, state of the art. You know.
I spent a nice bit of time out playing rugby out there, and the people you meet out on the pitch are the people you're still talking to today.
Yeah.
We might play them in different games and stuff, and it's great to actually meet them again and see where they are in life too. So yeah, definitely the sports side of things is huge down in Waterford as well, and don't be afraid to join them.
Yeah, I'll just finish by saying follow something you're passionate in. I think it's so important. If you're interested in land sciences, if you're interested in farming, you know, follow it. Don't be afraid, you know, to go into something different. Don't be afraid to not follow the pack, and just do your research. Look into the courses and the opportunities that are there, because I don't think enough people know the opportunities that are there with an ag degree. I definitely didn't go into it, but I'm very glad that I ended up in the industry and picking it as well. Can we give our panellists a big round of applause? Thank you so much. And thanks, SETU, for having me. There's plenty of lecturers here, so if anyone has any questions on any of the courses, I'd encourage you to speak to the lecturers and utilise them as well. So thanks very much.